Okay, inshallah, if everyone can come to their seats now, we'll make a start. We're delighted to have our next speaker with us today. Inshallah, Brother Ajmal Masroor was born in Bangladesh and came to Britain at a very young age when his parents immigrated to the UK. He is the co-founder of the Barefoot Institute for Muslim Relationships, which provides marriage counseling and relationship training. He is as the Director of Communities in Action, he promotes community development and cohesion, also cultural relations through seminars delivered nationally and internationally. He has authored many books and written articles specializing on marriage and relationship issues and on political and social matters too. He is also a prominent media personality, providing support to various media and government agencies on Muslim-related topics and appearing on mainstream channels such as BBC, Channel 4 and CNN. Brother Ajmal is also a regular khatib at West Ealing, Parsons Green and Good Street Masajids and spends significant time volunteering and fundraising for charitable organizations. It's also important to highlight that the Islamic Dawah Center and Brother Ajmal, we go a very long way back. Before we had even had a masjid established, way back in the late 90s, almost 19 years ago now, we used to hold monthly circles and talks in brothers' houses. As some of you would remember. And Brother Ajmal at the time was a young and upcoming Imam, I think, who used to give he used to give khutbas in Bilal Masjid. And he also used to be regularly involved in kind of holding these talks and circles in the Islamic Dawah Center. I'm sure as then and as now, your talks are, mashallah, thought-provoking and fiery. But unfortunately, I was only 6 and 7 years old at the time, so I think I slept through most of the talks. So inshallah, I'm hoping we're delighted for him to be back with us today. So inshallah, if we can all settle down, and I'll call Brother Ajmal Masroor onto the podium, inshallah, without any further delay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا حبيبنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, let me begin by greeting you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is great to be back after a long gap between your Da'wah Center and my activities, in the sense that I haven't been there for a long time. But alhamdulillah, you have come to this place to hold your conference, and I'm very privileged and honored that you've invited me to speak. The topic of my lecture today, it's going to be entitled Islam, a Vision for Britain. I believe it's a very important talk, not only for yourself, but for myself more importantly, because it articulates my own thinking, crystallizes my experience and thoughts, and it puts into practice some of the things that I cherish and I would like you to also cherish in the course of your living in this country. We're living at a very difficult time, brothers and sisters. We have witnessed unprecedented level of hostilities, racism, Islamophobia in our country today. Since the recent disastrous outcome of the Brexit referendum, we have witnessed more than 100 incidents of racism and Islamophobic attacks against Muslims and Islamic community centers across the country. Mosques have been vandalized. Pig's head has been left at the entrance of mosques. Mosques have received suspicious white powder in envelopes. Some mosques have received death threats left in their answer machines. Even Eid prayers in certain mosques has been cancelled recently because of the fear of right-wing fascist groups attacking them. Ordinary Muslims have experienced verbal abuse on the streets, in the marketplace, and of course, even the car parks. The ugly head of racism and Islamophobia has risen again in our country. And the Pandora's ugly box, which was shut, but now has been opened through the Brexit referendum. For many white racist bigots, Brexit was their revolt against the establishment and a vote against the foreigners. They call all you, me, and anyone who is not white illegal immigrants. Brothers and sisters, we have noticed great political upheaval in our country, starting with the murder of a great politician called Joe Cox recently in Leeds. The Prime Minister David Cameron's own resignation, internal mutiny in all political parties, including challenge to the Labour Party's leader, political betrayal of the century by Michael Gove, the architect of right-wing Britain, the neocon pundit, the destroyer of our education system, the fabricator supreme of the Trojan horse threat in the Muslim schools, the brain behind Brexit campaign, and backstabber of Boris Johnson. They say a week is a long time in politics. In fact, 24 hours in politics in Britain in the recent days have appeared to be very long. This was an extremely tumultuous week for politics in Britain, and certainly a very unsettling few weeks for Muslims in the UK. Under such circumstances, what we need, my brothers and sisters, is clear vision and clear leadership. What we need is clarity in thinking and clear program of work. The economic and political uncertainty in the UK has the potential to destroy our country's long-standing tolerant and multicultural approach and persona. It has the potential to tear our country apart. In this difficult time, we Muslims must provide a good alternative to the status quo. We must articulate a vision for Britain that would capture the imagination of the masses and win the hearts and minds of British people, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. Our position here in the UK is a very critical one, especially now in this critical juncture of British history. Without a clear vision and a work program, we risk our survival, brothers and sisters. In fact, it's no longer a question of survival, but it is an existential threat to our living and livelihood in Britain. We should know that our religion, Islam, is not a religion full of dogmas. It is not a religion full of do's and don'ts and commands and prohibition. It is a religion that can provide humanity with a formula for peaceful coexistence. It can provide humanity with a formula for pluralism It could provide the humanity with a formula for compassionate economy. It can provide humanity with a formula for freedom, dignity and honor, truthful and trustworthy leadership. It can provide the humanity with adequate and proper rule of law. It can provide people's democratic right to elect and account their leaders, and most importantly, people with conscience, people who are responsible, people who are well-rounded and with good character. So we as Muslims have a duty and a responsibility to not only articulate this vision clearly and succinctly, but we have a responsibility of living this vision in our life every day. We have a duty and a responsibility to realize this vision within the Muslim communities, in our small pockets of different nationalities and ethnicities that we have. We have a responsibility to share this vision with the wider non-Muslim community with whom we share this island. I have 7 key principles for a vision that I would like to propose to you today. And remember, it's only a proposal. You can have your own proposal. You can have your own principles that you would like to see in Britain. You can reject mine and you can propose your own. But without a vision, we're not going to go anywhere. Without clear thinking, without a strategy, we're not going to achieve our short-term or long-term goal. So the following 7 principles that I've outlined are only my proposition for a vision. Principle number 1, I would like to see a more conscious Britain. I would like to see a Britain based on more conscience of individual, on integrity, on morality and ethical living by all people. I would like all of us to be people of integrity, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. I would like all of us to come together and agree on the moral imperatives that underpins a stable society. I would like us all to agree on ethical framework that will keep our communities cohesive and communities living in harmony. Some people, my brothers and sisters, when it comes to morality and ethics, like experimentation as a means and a mode to determining what is right and what is wrong. But I as Muslim, and you as Muslim, the Muslim community at large does not believe in experimentation with morality and ethics. For ethics and morality for us are universal, they're fixed, they are determined, and they are a philosophy based on believing in one Allah, one God, no partners, no other attributes, no other associates with Him except Him as the supreme authority over yours and mine, our morals and our ethics. No one else decides. We don't decide. The creator of the universe, the designer of the universe, the fashioner of the universe, the architect of all things that live in this universe knows better what is good for you and what is bad for you, what is better for you and what is beneficial for you. And therefore He, God Almighty, decides what is ethical and what is not ethical. If you and I argue and waste our time in debating and discussing what is moral and what is not moral, we are not going to come to a consensus. We're going to argue and fight. What may become ethical for you may not be seen as ethical by somebody else. I believe we do not need to waste our time arguing over morals and ethics, but build a life based on the common good of humanity, because that ultimately is the bottom line to ethics and morality in Islam. It is not what makes you feel good on your own. It is not what makes you feel happy alone. It is what is in the collective interest of a society, of a community, that becomes moral. Anything against that is immoral. Anything against that is unethical. So the personal interest is never at the expense of the collective interest when it comes to morality and ethics, when it comes to integrity of people. My brothers and sisters, I would like to see a Britain based on more conscience, on integrity, on morality, on ethics. And I would like to see Muslims play a very important role in developing a moral discourse, an ethical discourse for us, for the families, for Muslims and non-Muslims, so that we can together create a template, what I call a template of conscience, a template of integrity, a template of morality and ethics. So principle number one is, I would like to see a Britain that is more conscious, individuals who are more conscious, society that has got conscience, a society based on integrity, on morality and ethical living. Number one. Principle number two, I would like to see a more compassionate Britain, my brothers and sisters. A more compassionate Britain is a simple statement, I know. But let's examine our faith, our religion, as to what Islam says. Many non-Muslims don't understand Islam. They think we're here to take over their country and destroy their way of life and impose ours. What is it that we're talking about? We're talking about a more compassionate Britain, because as a Muslim, I am, you are, we are committed to benevolence. We are committed to kindness. We're committed to charity. We're committed to philanthropy. And we're committed to the goodness of all human beings who are disadvantaged. Disadvantaged for many reasons. Maybe they're disadvantaged because of economic reasons. Maybe because of displacement, they've become refugees. They're seeking asylum. Maybe because of disabilities. Maybe because of war. Maybe because of famine, flood, earthquake, and all sorts of other issues. Whoever is disadvantaged, we need to show more compassion. And I would like to see a Britain that is more compassionate. And I would like you and I, as Muslims, influencing this compassion, an element of compassion to rekindle itself and engulf the country, our country called Britain. So every person feels compassionate towards everybody else. My parents came to this country many, many years ago as economic migrants. Many of you came to this country as asylum seekers running away from persecution. Millions were welcomed to this country with open arms by British people, by British government. Ladies and gentlemen, but I feel our country's nature of compassion has fast disappeared. It's eroded. It's gone as we look around. It's been replaced by hatred of foreigners. It's been whipped up by those right-wing political pundits. It's become the boogeyman of our time. Foreigners are not the problem. The asylum seekers are not the problem. The problem in this country is that our society is broken because of our government's inability and unwillingness to invest in public services. Our society is broken because we have forgotten the essence of compassion. Our society is broken because we've become very selfish. Our society is broken because we've become heartless. We've become so self-centered. We've become so egotistical. That's why our society is broken. It hasn't been broken because of the asylum seekers or the foreigners. If anything, our country has become strengthened because of the foreigners and asylum seekers who came to this country in the form of our parents or in the form of your own selves. I would like to see compassion return in this country. I'm committed to, and we're all committed to the well-being of all people, regardless of their background, regardless of their social, economic or political status. I want the Muslim community in the UK to show more compassion towards their fellow human beings. I want you, me, the Muslim community to engage in more activities of charitable nature here at home in the UK, not in the back home countries where you come from or your ethnic people come from. No, here in the UK, becoming more engaged, more involved, because you believe in compassion, you believe in sharing, you believe in caring. In every verse of the Quran, my brothers and sisters, wherever God invites believers to do good deeds, the good deed is always described but it is always followed by an advice for charitable work. We've always been invited by Allah, by God, to do amalun salihun, believe and do zakat and sadaqat, as Allah has said in various verses of the Quran. The blessed Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he or she is not a believer who goes to sleep with the stomach full while his or her neighbor sleeps hungry. The concept of compassion is embedded in our faith. If you and I were to practice compassion with Muslims and non-Muslims, if you and I were to tell the non-Muslims that my faith and my aspiration and my vision for Britain is based on compassion, why would a non-Muslim find it troublesome? Why would a non-Muslim find my vision a problem? I would like to see more compassion in our politics, my brothers and sisters, and amongst the politicians. I would like to see more politics of principles instead of politics of opportunism. I would like to see an end to politics of hatred, mistrust, and disdain that has rotten our politics in this country. And I would like to see our communities, our community leaders, our politicians demonstrate more compassion. In our economy, I would like to see more compassion. In our social interaction, I would like to see more compassion. I would like to see Britain where dog eats dog culture is totally eradicated. I would like to see Britain where you and me are driven by compassion, not self-interest, not greed, but love and kindness towards our fellow human being. That is my second principle of a vision for Britain. I would like to see a more compassionate Britain where everyone is sharing the compassion inside and out. Vision number 3, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, is called justice. Vision number 3, I would like to see a Britain based on justice. Of course, Britain is more just than most Muslim countries in the world today. Most Muslim countries are run by dictators and despots. They don't have rule of law. They have whimsical leadership who decide at whim what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Well, we live in Britain today, in which justice is very prevalent. But I would like to see more justice embedded in every sphere of British life. When I say justice, I mean fairness. I mean righteousness. I mean reasonableness. If you were to pick up a dictionary and look at the meaning of justice, you will find often always, it talks about fairness and something that is reasonable to yourself and to others. I would like to see our country become more reasonable to all its citizens. Not just one class of people who are superior because they're born with silver spoon in their mouth. They come from a section of our society who are born with privileges, who are born with opportunities, who are born to be the king and the queen of our country, who are born to be the prime minister of our country. No, justice means everyone must have an equal, fair and reasonable chance of excelling and seeing justice done for everybody. If you want to sue, for example, if you want to sue a newspaper for defamation today, you have to show that you have got 150 to 250,000 pounds cash available or asset available before you can take that case to a court. What kind of justice is this? It means if you're rich, if you're a millionaire, if a newspaper says something against you, you can sue them and gain more money. And if you're a rich pauper like me, a newspaper can say anything it likes and get away with it. And they do, brothers and sisters, on a regular basis. A country which is more fair and more just would eradicate such inequality in society, would eradicate such concept of injustice in our society. You cannot access law nowadays unless you have cash. You can't have a lawyer because legal aid that used to be the fallback position for the poor has now been almost, if not completely closed off. Brothers and sisters, justice must become the cornerstone of everything that we do in Britain. And that's why you have come here, because here is justice. You know what, brothers and sisters, I have to be more fair than we always talk about. It is true that Britain is more just and fair than any Muslim country. But did you know Did you know, my brothers and sisters, in the Quran, Allah talks about our worship. He talks about prayer. He talks about fasting. He talks about Hajj. He talks about zakat. He talks about all sorts of good things. Never does He say, do this and this will be the closest to Allah consciousness. Never does He say that, except in the concept of justice. He says, i'dilu, be just. Hu aqrabu lit-taqwa, for that is the most close position that you can ever attain to Allah consciousness. Justice, my brothers and sisters, is imperative in Islam. In fact, when I was addressing a group of judges recently, and I told them that wherever there is justice, there is Sharia. Sharia's opposite meaning, or the meaning of Sharia, is justice. Without justice, Sharia doesn't exist. The purpose of Sharia, Islamic law, is to serve justice. That's the reason why, when I propose a vision for Britain, I propose principle number 3 to be justice. Without justice, no society can progress or prosper. No wonder most Muslim countries are destroying from within, because there is no justice in those countries. In fact, I couldn't give this speech. I couldn't give this speech if I was standing in a Muslim country today. They would chop my head off, lock me up in a room or a cellar, and I'd be forgotten forever. In fact, believe it or not, my father's home country, where my parents come from, Bangladesh, I can't go to Bangladesh because Bangladeshi government has banned me from going there. Because I speak about justice and fairness. Because I speak about truth. I speak about people's right to fairness and justice. So I would like to see a Britain where you, me, Muslim community, play a very important role in proliferating justice in every aspect of our life, in your private life and in your collective life. Let me give you a crude example of how unjust we Muslims can be. On the day of Jum'ah, when you come to the mosque to pray and you're driving, you can't find parking space. You've gone around the block 3 times. Then you decide to leave your car on a double yellow line. It's okay, it's 5 minutes, I must pray Jum'ah first. I'm not sure if you do this, but I've seen it with my own eyes. People do that. Leave their cars in illegal places. Injustice, my brothers and sisters. The council likes to encourage you and me to recycle our dustbin. Most Muslims I have come across don't like recycling. They just put all the rubbish in one box. You're being unjust to your local council. You're being unjust to your neighbors by not looking after your neighbors, by not keeping your garden at the front and at the back clean. Yesterday, I was cycling with my children, and I was cycling by a mosque, and outside the mosque, right outside the mosque, in its own courtyard, I saw heaps and heaps of rubbish, rotting away, old carpet, old furniture, old food, stale boxes. They had probably been left from Ramadan. Why should the non-Muslims walk by and curse you and me for being so unjust and unethical and unfriendly to the environment by keeping our backyards unclean? It's called being unjust to our neighbors and our people around. So justice, my brothers and sisters, must pervade every sphere of our life, from our families to our neighbors, to our society, to our economy. Number 3, therefore, is justice. I would like to see a more just Britain where you and me play an important role in seeing justice proliferate. Number 4, my brothers and sisters, peace. I would like to see more peace prevalent in our community in Britain. I know in today's world where Brexit campaigners are flexing their muscles, telling you and I to leave this country, telling you and I that they've voted for the foreigners to leave. I want you to stand your ground but be peaceful. I want you to struggle back and be peaceful. I want you to stand your ground and demonstrate to the world that we Muslims are peaceful people. Wherever we go, we are peaceful. In fact, our religion, Islam, by definition means a group of people who submit to peace. If you can't submit to peaceful way of life, then you're not a Muslim. Very simple, straightforward equation. Allah says that in the Quran, "Udkhulu fis silmi kaffa," enter in a state of complete submission to peace. Complete submission to peaceful way of life. No more. If we are going to be Muslims, and if we are going to be claiming to the community a change, a leadership, then our change in leadership must come from this peaceful way of life. However, I believe Muslims must commit to peaceful living and coexistence with non-Muslims who may be different to them. a peaceful living with people you disagree with, a peaceful living with people you may not see eye to eye with. Brothers and sisters, many non-Muslims say to me, if you are so committed to peaceful way of life, why is it that we see in Muslim countries there is war, there is troubles, there is suicide bombing, there is constant attack, they are killing one another, they are bombing the mosques, including recent bombing in Medina, including the bombings in Turkey, including the bombings that happens on a daily basis in Syria, in Iraq, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, in Bahrain, in many places of the world where there is no peace. Majority of the world's countries where peace doesn't exist, unfortunately happen to be Muslim countries. It seems like a contradiction that Muslims claim to be peaceful, their religion is supposed to be peaceful, and yet they're the most unpeaceful people on the face of this earth. That's because we Muslims have forgotten our religion. We're too angry too often. We're too upset too often. We're too frustrated too often. We are too much in the mode of resentment and retribution. For as long as we remain a people not committed to peaceful way of life, Allah will not bestow upon you and I a favor of peace at all, because we have abandoned our peaceful way of life. I would like to see a Britain that is more peaceful. Peaceful with its Muslim communities. Peaceful with all its citizens. Peaceful internally. I would like to see an end to racism. I would like to see an end to those right-wing nutters who are dominating our political discourse. But that's not going to happen unless you and I demonstrate in our lives, in our social, in our political activities, a peaceful existence and coexistence. You know what, brothers and sisters? Many non-Muslims are afraid of Muslims today because they don't think you and I are peaceful. Many non-Muslims are afraid and blame Islam for terrorism. They blame Islam for extremism. They blame Islam for the troubles around the world. Well, I have a clear answer to all of these, my brothers and sisters, and you too. Terrorism has no religion. Extremism has no religion. They come from all walks of life. They come from all walks of life. Don't blame and apportion the silly activities, the foolish activities, the nutty activities of those idiots who perpetrate terrorist, extremist, and any other vile crimes. That has nothing to do with Islam. It contradicts the essence of Islam in every way possible. In fact, which Muslim would carry out activities and acts of terror against anybody in the month of Ramadan in the masjid of beloved Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Which Muslim would do that? No Muslim would do that. Which Muslim would go and kill people in a masjid anywhere, whether it is in Syria or in Iraq, just because they're Sunni or Shia? Which Muslim would perpetrate crimes against humanity in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, by blowing up innocent people, by blowing up children in madrasas, in mosques? Which human being would do that? Even animals won't. Wallahi, Muslims are very committed to peaceful way of life. Muslims are very committed to peaceful way of life. Those who do that, those who violate the peaceful existence and peaceful way of life, they have ceased to be a Muslim. In fact, they haven't got a clue about the real message of Islam. They don't understand their faith well. They probably haven't read a single book on Islam, but they've become radicalized. But you know what, brothers and sisters? If a recent example is to be taken by, few days ago in Bangladesh, on the 27th night of Ramadan, there was an attack in a cafe, as you saw. 20 people were slaughtered to death by 6 people who are of Bangladeshi origin. You know, when you look at the profile of the 6, none of them went to an Islamic school in their life. None of them. None of them had ever attended a madrasa on an Islamic curriculum. None of them come from a religious family background. All of them come from the secular, left-wing, right-wing Bangladeshi elite. It's their children who have perpetrated the crime against Bangladeshis, against the foreigners in Bangladesh. And then they blame the madrasas for it. They lock up madrasa students. They lock up the masjid. 14,000 people were locked up by Prime Minister Hasina's order only 2 months before the attack. Yet the attack took place. Those people who were locked up, 14,000 of them, most of them were religious people who come from different political groups, had nothing to do with any of the terrorist activities in the country. And yet some people like blaming Islam for terrorism and violence in the world. My challenge to you and my challenge to the world, the Arabic word for violence is unf. Arabic word for violence is unf. In the Quran, the Arabic word unf does not appear at all. 0 number of times the word for violence appears in the Quran. Where do you find violence in the Quran? In anything, if anything, Allah condemns violence and He invites you and I to a peaceful life. So Muslims have a duty to share peaceful life in this country with people around and invite others to peace. And we would like to see Britain at peace and more becoming the brokers of peace rather than warmongering and invading countries illegally and unethically. Number 5, I would like to see a Britain which is more equal for all people. My brothers and sisters, in Islam, there is a fundamental concept called equality. Allah says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Allah has made every children of Adam with dignity and honor. Everyone is equal in the eyes of Allah. Whether you're black or brown, whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, whether you're a sinner or a virtuous person. In the eyes of Allah, as a human being, your worth is equal. Nobody is more and nobody is less. If we're all equal in the eyes of Allah, we Muslims must stand firm in inviting people to equality, in inviting people to this concept of dignity and honor for every human being in equal measure and equal worth. You see, brothers and sisters, in our country today, in this country today, equality has become a lip service. It's important to be equal, and equality must be signed up when it comes to everything else. But when it comes to Muslims, it's no longer applicable. If you're Muslim and practicing Muslim, I don't have to treat you equally. If you're a sister wearing hijab, you don't have to be treated equally. In fact, unless you take your hijab off, I'm not even going to consider you as a proper human being. That is rotten. Those who propose and propagate such a belief, they are rotten in their core philosophy and belief. Their core philosophy and belief is rotten. We need to challenge that. This country has always been a beacon of championing equality for all that I know. But I'm fearing a rise in inequality with time. In fact, inequality is already prevalent in certain sections of our community. Did you know, my brothers and sisters, in this country, in Britain today, many people live in abject poverty. They have to make a choice between food and fuel. They have to make a choice between whether they eat or they warm up their houses, whether they provide their children with food and snacks when they go to school, or give them pocket money to be able to buy. This is an inequality. 1% of the world's population own more than 70% of world's wealth. Why? Inequality. We can't have that. 1% of the total population of the world owning more than 70% of world's population. Why? Because the world has become dominated by people who are greedy, who are selfish. We need to eradicate greed and selfishness and bring back equality in every sphere. Equality in the economic sense, equality in political sense, equality in social sense, equality in our individual, collective, private and public sense, equality in everything possible. Number 5, that was equality. Number 6, brothers and sisters, Allah in the Quran orders you and I to be the best, to be excellent. He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ. Allah orders you to be just. I've already talked about justice. وَالْإِحْسَانِ, to be excellent with one another. Ihsan means to do your best. To do your best, to be the best. Britain should be the best, and you and I as Muslims have a right and a duty to provide Britain our best service, our best care, our best compassion, our best everything, so that our society can become the best that there is. You and I together can become the best. In the eyes of Allah, those of us are best are the ones who would be worthy of higher return, higher degree of paradise on paradise in the hereafter. It is stated in the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, a person who is strong is actually stronger in Iman. I believe we need to be excellent in everything. When we do our job, we need to be excellent. In our education, we need to push our children so that they can achieve excellence. When we are teachers, we need to be the best teachers. We need to become the best scientist. We need to become the best civil servant. We need to become the best philosophers. We need to become the best politicians. We need to become the role model for everything that is best. Because that is our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Doesn't Allah say that about our beloved Prophet? He says he is uswatun hasana, the best of example for everything. There is nothing better than him in examples in everything that you and I need to aspire to. And Allah orders you and I to be excellent in everything. I would like to see a Britain which is also driving excellence, brilliance, distinction and merit, rather than nepotism, rather than corruption and cronyism. I want to go further in my life, not because you have a quota for a brown man or a black man or a Muslim man. No, I want to progress in life because of my merit, because of who I am, not because of my color. I want to excel in my life because of the opportunities that I have, not because the favors you give me. I'm not interested in favors. I'm interested in equality. I'm interested in merit. I'm interested in promotion of brilliance. I'm interested in celebration of distinction. I want excellence to become the cornerstone of British society, cornerstone of everything that we do. You and I do the same. Become excellent in everything that we do. And principle number 7, my brothers and sisters, is everything that you do, I want you to note this, everything that you do culminates into one manifestation. Whether you're kind, whether you're peaceful, whether you're just, whether you're equal, whether you're excellent, all of this create an end product that you all share. It's called love and mercy. It's called love and mercy, the cornerstone for Muslim family, cornerstone for Muslim society, cornerstone for human civilization. Without love and mercy, nothing can exist. I would like to see a Britain that is more loving and more merciful to everybody. I would like to see a Britain that is more loving and more merciful to all its inhabitants, all the asylum seekers, all the foreigners, all the workers, all the migrants, all the immigrants, all the white, black, brown, Chinese, and every nationality. I would like to see a Britain where love and mercy becomes prevalent. And if you are a true believer, if you and I are true Muslims, we would champion love and mercy in everything that we do. We will also be loving and merciful. Remember what Allah says, Prophet ﷺ warned us, the one who is in the heavens will not show mercy or love to the one on this earth who is not merciful or loving towards his or her fellow human being. In other words, if you don't show mercy to people around you, Allah will not show mercy to you. If you want mercy from Allah, if you want mercy from the Lord of the universe, you need to become merciful and loving to everybody else. So to finish off, I have to round up my speech. In conclusion, my brothers and sisters, I dream of a Britain where Muslims and non-Muslims live in happiness and in harmony. I dream of a Britain where you and me and our children, Muslims and non-Muslims, have an equal stake to develop and shape Britain for today and for tomorrow. I dream of a Britain where every single human being, regardless of their background, is treated with same worth, same dignity, and same honor. I dream of a Britain where you, me, could become the Prime Minister of our country. Whether you're Muslim or non-Muslim, it makes no difference. Whether you're black or brown makes no difference. I dream of a Britain where the Brexiteers and their noxious, their venomous mantra is forever dismantled and replaced by love and mercy in our community. I dream of a Britain that is inclusive and powerful. I dream of a Britain where you, Muslims and non-Muslims, will play a vital role in shaping not just Britain, but the continent of Europe and the world at large. For if Britain becomes powerful, the world will benefit from it. If the Muslim community in Britain are powerful, the world's Muslim community will be powerful. If Britain is the loving Britain that we want, the great Britain we want, you and I need to wake up and shape up. You and I need to rise and become a people who are not just talkers, but walkers. You and I are not passive, but active people. We need to take the bull by the horn, as they say. Make it happen. Mahatma Gandhi said, if you want to see a change, if you wish to see a change, you should become the change yourself. You want to see a change? Be the change yourself. I hope and I pray that my vision for Britain, as I've outlined, becomes a reason for you to start thinking. A place from where you can have a debate and a discussion and influence, inshallah, a vision for Britain that will be inspiring, empowering, and most importantly, practical. With these words, I'll finish. Thank you very much for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, sure. Jazakallah khair, Brother Ajmal, for a very thought-provoking and inspiring speech. Inshallah, we should definitely take heed and ensure that we can establish this vision, inshallah. If we have any questions, for the time being, I think we might have a 5 or 10 minute window for any questions and answers. So for the brother side, if there's anyone with questions, please raise your hand. If the sisters, if you would like to ask any questions, if you feel that you can write it in a piece of note, you can pass it along if need be, inshallah. So we'll open the floor now if you have any questions.
You can ask questions to sisters, you just have to raise your hand. We'll come to you, inshallah. Is there anyone who would like to ask a question? If you have a question, alhamdulillah. If you don't have a question, that's good too. 1, 2. Yes, my brother.
How do we bring our young children or who are going to the school now in this situation, practice the situation? Because we as a little mature people will be able to handle the situation, but kids are now going to colleges or schools. What kind of advice or how do we bring them, making sure that they are not reacting in a negative way in this present situation?
Thank you very much. I'll repeat the question. How do we bring up our children in post-Brexit Britain without them becoming negatively impacted by perhaps racism or any other problems that they may face? Okay, so let me answer this question first. I have 2 children. I'm very afraid of the exposure that they have, or the potential for negative exposure that they have. You see, the first thing as we parents we must do is give them a confident home. A confident home. So when I was growing up, my father told me I was Bangladeshi first. I was Muslim, and then maybe then I was British. I think that kind of idea was wrong. I was Muslim and I was British, and those were my identities. That's all that mattered. I am very proud of my Bangladeshi background, but in Britain it plays no role, none whatsoever. I'm bringing up my children, giving them a confident Muslim identity. Do you understand? I am giving my children a confident Muslim identity. What does it mean? I want my children to be very proud of who they are. They should have never and no feeling of inferiority because they are Muslim. So I teach my children more about philosophy of Islam and less about the dogma of Islam. If I teach my children to walk around looking at ingredient packs to see E471, E472, halal or haram as more important than throwing rubbish on the street, then I've given my children the wrong message of Islam. Throwing rubbish on the street is wrong because picking up rubbish from the street is part of your iman. But checking E471 isn't part of your iman. Some of you may say, brother, you're wrong. It is haram food. But hang on. E471 as a number is debatable anyway because it's chemical. It's not the real product. You think they've got a real product in E471. No, it's artificial flavoring, artificial food that they've made. Don't waste your time in frivolous things. If you tell your child to argue about the length of the beard, length of the trousers, the color of the hijab, the khimar, the face cover or no face cover, you're wasting your time. That is not a confident Muslim identity. A confident Muslim identity is this person believes that they're Muslim. They're Muslim first, by iman and by yaqeen, by conviction. My brothers and sisters, I don't want you to get it wrong. Of course I will keep a beard. Of course I will wear my modest clothes. But I don't need to teach my children to fight over it. Don't waste time fighting over it. The word is, don't waste time fighting over it. Give them confidence. They will wear the right clothes. Give them the knowledge. They will not waste their time in frivolous issues. Give them the confidence of belonging, that they belong to Britain. They will not feel one leg in South India and one leg in Britain. They won't. They will feel British through and through. So I say, bring up your children as confident Muslims. Give them hope that they can do whatever they want. When Sadiq Khan became the mayor of London, my son was with me and my daughter they were both with me. They were so eagerly waiting for the election result. And they were jumping with joy when they heard Sadiq Khan became the mayor of London. They jumped inside, I think they were in the car. So they jumped inside the car. So I said to both of them, why are you so excited? My son said, Daddy, I want to become the mayor of London. I said to him, why do you want to become the mayor of London? Why not something more? He goes, such as what? I said, the leader of Britain. He goes, okay then, Daddy, I want to become the president of Britain. I said to him, there is no president, there is prime minister. He goes, then I want to become the prime minister of Britain. And I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? That's what I mean by a confident Muslim. He wants to become the prime minister of Britain. Alhamdulillah. May Allah make it possible for him and all our children. Please say Ameen. Brothers and sisters, give them confidence. They can aspire big. Give them confidence. They will practice their deen well. Give them confidence. They will integrate without fear. Give them confidence. They will belong without worries. So can you see one word? Confident Muslim. They can face anything they want. Anything you throw at them, they can face it. Because they are confident as Muslim. Thank you for that question. Yes, Mahir, how are you doing? Good to see you. Go ahead, what's your question? Barakallah fiik.
Wonderful thought of yours. My question is, Alhamdulillah, you just presented 7 points. It's kind of 30 courses of your own. And my question is this, how much or how far it has been consolidated on a common platform Muslim leadership is one, the Ajmal Mashroor presenting a case for anti-Muslims to the British is better. Is it better than the common platform such as MCP, Mango, whatever? Has there any initiatives been taken, or is it just your starting point, please?
It is my starting point.
Why didn't then you should have initiated with the common platform such as MCP and Mango?
I have another time. I only wrote this on Friday. I wrote my 7 points as fresh as I have in my mind on Friday, just gone, 2 days ago. I will inshallah share them with other people. I'm sharing with you to get your reaction. I gave my Jummah khutbah on the same topic in my local masjid on Friday. And I'm sensing from yourselves how you feel. I would probably need to change, add. It will, inshallah, it's work in progress, but you're absolutely right. Such thoughts and ideas we need to start developing collectively rather than on our own. But it's just a starting point. And I intend to write a book on this, inshallah. I intend to complete it, and then hopefully I will find your feedback. And inshallah you can discuss, and we can all discuss, and come up with a vision for Britain for our existence in this country. We haven't had one, we need one, and need it urgently. So I have started. I hope somebody else will inshallah complete it. If not, we'll collectively complete it. Thank you. Barakallahu fikum. Any other questions from brothers or sisters? No? Okay. Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ajmal, for making time today to give us a very thought-provoking speech. Inshallah, you can all stay in your seats once again. We'll be having a break very soon, inshallah. We will now be moving on to our Tamil speakers for the day. So inshallah, we will be, before we move on, I was told that if any brothers or sisters have any cups, water bottles or empty water bottles or any rubbish around them. Just how Brother Ajmal Masroor has said in his speech, if you can all pick up rubbish, inshallah, and please throw it in the bin, so that we can make it easy for the brothers who are tidying the place, and also make this hall clean, inshallah. If you all hold on to your seat, we'll be starting very shortly. Just like to call Ibrahim Hazrat to please come up on stage, inshallah, and announce the next speaker, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.